Alright, we'll see how well this works out. Unfortunately, with this iPad, I'm not sure how well this is going to work out, but at any rate, what we're looking at, this tangle of mess of wiring on this particular terminal strip is actually for the roundhouse. That doesn't exist, but the tracks are there. This here was an easy way, I guess, for me to keep everything somewhat straight from the switch that I've got that kills power to the tracks. Obviously, what it is one side has always got power. I guess is one way to put it, and then everything else comes through a switch, and that comes through this terminal strip here that's soldered on one side, and it's got a screw on the other end, and then that goes up to the tracks. Up on that 2x4, up here, this is actually the passenger terminal strip, and like I was telling everybody on the swing bridge video, as you can tell, this gray line has got 4 conductors in it. There's a red, a black, a white, and a green. The red and the black is I can't remember which one's which off the top of my head. It's marked. But basically what you have is you have the north and then the south. This is for the passenger line. The freight line is actually over here on this side. This is actually the freight line. And I'm sorry, there's wires that are probably going to be coming across the camera lens there. And that's the bottom side of the turntable for the roundhouse, obviously. And there's also there's wires for that here also. Some of the other wiring that you see up underneath here, this is for switches, one of the switches. And like I said, since this wire is 4 conductor plus a ground, here again, normal Atlas, red, green, and black. So I kept that scheme for those. So those are fairly easy to see, and then they're also written as to what they actually are. This railroad actually does have a block system, and it's also got dead tracks. The blocks, this here is for the, I'm not sure which side this is, but this is one of the freight lines, and the other freight line is over here. Over here. Sorry. So here's one freight block. Here's the other freight block. And then obviously this goes out to the track. The center poles go out to the track, and then of course I used green for one side, and then red and black for the other direction, or for the other. One's for the north, one's for the south. But there's 2 power packs. There's the power pack on this panel, which is the MRC, and then I'll show you the other 2 packs that are on the other side of the room over near New Bolshide. And the reason why they're over there is so that you can actually work Newtown and the factory in New Bolshide. So we're going to stop here, and we're going to float up underneath the passenger line. So give us a minute. Now, one thing you're going to notice is that the passenger control panel is a little bit cleaner. It's because there's not as much going on over here. There's really no switches, so on and so forth. There are switches, don't get me wrong. These are your dead tracks for the underneath of Wakert Hill. I believe that the bottom row is the passenger, the top row is the freight. So you have your main and siding for your freight and then your passenger. And these here are there's gaps in the rail, and that's what kills power to underneath of Wakert Hill. So when the switch is off, that means that there's no connection over that gap. When the switch is on, there's power that comes through the switch and goes ahead and puts that, or re-energizes that rail. So that's how that works. And obviously, like I said, you got north and south for the freight, and north and south for the passenger, main and siding. And over here is another terminal strip, which is where they all get tied into. So that way when I have to break down, or had to break down and move the layout, which has already been done once, there was a way to do it cleanly, and these terminal strips are all basically up underneath of this layout. They're all over the place. One other thing that's underneath of Wakert Hill here is the transformers for the lighting system, and that's what you're looking at right now. So there's two of those, and they feed the lighting system. Also, this big switch here is another emergency off switch. It's a normal light switch, and this here ties into the electrical box, which is also tied into the bridge, so that when the bridge is closed, the whole layout is energized. But instead of having to open the bridge to kill the layout, you could flip this switch off, and it would kill the layout. So that's basically what's underneath of Wakert Hill here as far as the passenger control panel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at New Bolshide. And I'm going to go ahead, and when I'm done here also, is I'll show you what they look like on top. Give it a little bit better explanation, so give me a minute. Now things really get cleaned up, because there's really nothing underneath of New Bolshide to show. We do have a couple of switches, and those are here. One for Newtown, one for New Bolshide, and then of course there's the there should be switches for the oh no, that's right, they're only on, I'm sorry, they're only on the other side. They're only on Boeville. So all you got here is the power packs. Then these two wires here, or this one gray wire that I'm holding, as soon as I find my hand, this feeds all the way back over to the block switches on top of the freight panel. So let's go ahead and take a look at these panels real quick. Okay, so here is the panel at New Bolshide. There's a power pack for the north, a power pack for the south, and then your two switches, or your two there's push button switches that control the two switches on the layout, one feeding New Bolshide, the other one feeding Newtown. The passenger control panel, and we've kind of talked about this already, but what we have here is that big switch that if the bridge was closed, which it's not closed, everything would be on. I could throw the switch to the off position, and I've effectively killed power to the layout. But like I said, because the bridge isn't closed, there's no power anyways. North and southbound passenger whistle, and then of course there's our switches for the mains and sidings, and then the dead track switches. As you can see, they're marked as NFM. That's your north freight main, north freight siding is here, south freight siding, south freight main. And it's the same thing for the passenger. There's your passenger siding, your passenger main, your passenger, southbound passenger siding, southbound passenger main. And then, last but not least, let's go over to this guy. And of course, I'm going to be standing in the light, of course. Let's do it this way. No, can't do it that way. Okay, there we go. Your two switches for underneath of Boeville, that switch between the north and southbound passenger for the mains and sidings. Your dead tracks for your passenger, north and south main and siding. The trolley line the trolley line transformer, the north and southbound freight, and there's your block switch for the north and the south, is over on this side. And then of course all the switches for the yard, and then eventually the yard power pack, a reversing switch, and underneath of this there is a switch for the different yard tracks, or the different locomotive tracks, and for the roundhouse. So basically this dual controller on this side is the actual yard switcher. This side is the motor for the or for the turntable, and that can be obviously taken in either direction. It also controls the track depending on which position this DPDT is in, this either controls the rotation of the turntable or controls the track, the trains coming in and out of the roundhouse. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop, and we'll go back over to the bench. I hope this works, because I just realized that this thing's going to 17 minutes already. So, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. As I've said in the past, likes and comments are wonderful. Subscriptions are even better. I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten to this point. Thank you very much. And wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. We'll see you next week.